My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. I'm waiting for a long time.
US President Donald Trump just announced a series of shocking reciprocal tariffs affecting over 180 countries in the world, effective this week. And yes, that includes us here in Malaysia. But before that, what on earth is reciprocal tariff? Well, it's essentially a counter tariff to justify that the trade relationship is balanced and fair.
In other words, they charge us, we charge them less, so how can anybody be upset?
But obviously, from an economic standpoint, that's just a one-dimensional way of looking at it. There's a lot more factors at play, like production costs, currency differences, supply chain complexity, etc, etc. So, that will definitely trigger response from the others, maybe even to the extent of a trade war. Anyways, here's a quick rundown of the numbers. Starting from the 5th of April, the US will impose a baseline 10% tariff on all imports for more than 180 countries, with China and Vietnam being hit the most. Understandably, because they are the countries with the most trade deficit with the US. China is getting a new 34% reciprocal tariff, on top of the existing 20% duties that was imposed since January this year, and that makes their true tariff rate to be at 54%. Vietnam, which is another manufacturing powerhouse in Asia that manufactures a huge bulk of goods for the likes of Nike and also Adidas, is also getting hit with a huge 46% tariff. And there's also a list of countries that the Trump administration labeled as worst offender, and they are also imposed with a significantly high reciprocal tariff rate as well. Malaysia, we are getting hit with a 24% tariff, which is a big jump from zero, and we are not even their main target. I'll put the full list of countries and the tariff imposed down below for you to check out. Though it's worth noting that some industries are exempted from this round of tariff, like pharmaceuticals, energy, semiconductors, steel, copper, lumber, and precious metals. So in a way, our vehicle prices might just sit out on this for at least a little bit longer. Well, at least for now. So, at times of uncertainty like now, you'll want a trusted and reliable stockbroker to capture all of the opportunities in the market. So enter this video sponsor, Moomoo, a SC Malaysia regulated and licensed platform that supports fractional shares trading for the US stocks and ETFs. Since individual stocks carry a high risk during times like this one, a diversified investment such as an ETF can work greatly in your favor. Take for example, a broad US market ETF like VOO that tracks the S&P 500, it still gained over 10% annually and weathered through all kinds of crashes and trade wars. Or, if you want to avoid concentrating in the US, you can also consider a world index ETF such as the VT ETF that invests in all the stock markets in the world. Still a solid 78% annually since its inception in 2008. And there's also sector-specific ETFs. If say real estate is your preferred play, they have REIT ETFs like the VNQ ETF. And then there's also bond and treasury ETFs, which opens up more diversified and low-risk options for you. Or if you want to diversify out of stocks, then there's also options for commodities like gold, which is a well-known hedge to inflation and economic uncertainty, which comes in a form of GLD ETF. Fees-wise, super cheap, only less than $1 if you buy less than one share. Anything more than that, they will charge an additional 0.03% commission fee. Anything less than a share, aka fractional shares, there will be no commissions charged. Only a tiny platform fee of just 0.99% of the transaction amount, capped at a maximum of 99 US cents. It's as cheap as it can go already. You can now deposit with my exclusive code Ziet11 to get amazing sign-up rewards while the campaign lasts. Alright, let's get back to the video. So, what is the Trump administration trying to achieve with this tariff at a level that is the steepest in a century? Well, in his own words.
April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're gonna make it wealthy, good and wealthy.
And according to a 2024 economic analysis by CPA, the 10% universal tariffs would grow the economy by $728 billion, create 2.8 million jobs for the Americans and increase real household incomes by 5.7%. That is, well, without doubting the accuracy of the economic model or the political bias involved. But one thing is for sure here, from 1997 to 2024, the US has lost around 5 million manufacturing jobs, and this tariff is meant to force manufacturing back into the country by discouraging imports of goods. And at risk of stating the obvious, that makes total economic sense to the US, because why manufacture yourself when you can just import it cheaply from, say, China and Vietnam at a fraction of the cost, right? Though, let's do a quick case study. In case you're new to all of this wasn't his first time imposing aggressive tariffs. In March 2018, he imposed tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports, 25% on steel and 10% on aluminum imports. As a result, US steel prices immediately spiked 40% in the year, which inflated downstream industries like auto manufacturing, construction, and electrical appliances. But to the Trump administration's credit, the US steel imports did drop around 24% by 2019 and boosted jobs as well. And their domestic steel production output did climb around 8% over the course of 2 years. But the whole thing was short-lived. It came at a cost of higher prices, net job losses across all industries, and counter tariffs which affected farmers badly in the agricultural sector. And because of that, analysts in and outside of the US are not favoring this move either, with some even calling it bringing an increased risk of a recession. So, with the US being Malaysia's third largest trading partner since 2015, and taking up 13.2% of Malaysia's total export markets in 2024, which is larger than China. How will this translate to economic impacts to Malaysia? Well, in the short to medium term, industries that are highly exposed to exporting to the US will receive the maximum impact, specifically the electronics and electrical products, which accounted for 62.8% of Malaysia's total export to the US last year. This means higher cost to Malaysian E&E products in the US, making them less competitive on the global scale. And when that happens, you can expect either layoffs or inflation in our E&E industry, or realistically, a mixture of both. And this sector alone contributes about 5.8% to Malaysia's GDP. And even if you remove semiconductor out of the picture, since it's exempted from this 24% reciprocal tariff, apply this to the other industries that also export a lot to the US, there will be lesser demand for Malaysia-made products, which translates to GDP impact and hence currency weakening as well. I'll leave that to the local economists to quantify the impact. So that's it for the quick update on the new tariff. I'm sure there are a lot more angles that we can look into. Let me know, what do you think? Comment down below. What other impacts will we see in Malaysia in the near term? I'm sure we all can learn a thing about the different industries over here. And while you're scrolling down, don't forget to use my link below to check out Moomoo, the one-stop platform for you to trade local and international stocks. Thanks for watching.